Hey everyone, Ryan Kramer, Head of Marketing and Growth here at Frisbee here. Thanks for tuning into a breaking session, breaking news segment, I want to call it. FBA capacity limits and new Amazon Capacity Manager features and programs announced, I want to say right now, 2 days ago, but less than 48 hours ago, was announced this program has kind of caught the Amazon world by storm. So we wanted to kind of break down for you just a quick an easy way to understand what that means for you going forward and why this is important. So first and foremost, this won't go into effect until March 31st. So all of this information is going to be available here on March 1st, not 31st, March 1st. So you're watching this here in mid January or early February. This still has some time to be able to go ahead and impact people for you to prepare and try to get your feet wet and start forecasting for 2023. We thought there would be, we didn't predict this in our 2023 segment, but this was something that has provided hopefully more clarity for sellers, especially going into Q3 and Q4 of 2023 and beyond. For forecasting and predicting limits when it comes to FBA warehouses. So why this matters, and again, this will go into effect until March 1st of 2023, is because the last 2 years, this has been something that Amazon sellers have been pounding their hands on their table, especially bigger ones who are trying to understand limits when it comes to FBA warehouses. So in 2021 and 2022, around October or so, obviously the busiest time of year, it's very important to understand that when you're trying to predict and understand forecasting models, which most, if not all, amazing Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers are trying to do, any good business is trying to forecast for that. If there's not storage availability or if it's constantly changing up and down, it's hard for sellers to predict how much they can put into a fulfillment center at any one given time. And I won't throw statistics at you, but of course, during Q3 and Q4, more notably, is when the busiest time of year is, and when you're a bigger seller and one of the largest sellers out there, if you can't put enough units in there and to keep up with demand, you run out of inventory, which really hurts on sales, which hurts on ranking. It snowballs into an effect, and we've touched on that before. But if you're watching this and you're just catching wind of what is FBA capacity limits and what is this new Amazon Capacity Manager, it's very intriguing to break this down. So if I myself was actually looking through our Seller Central account, and this was something wasn't even updating all in real time. So throughout the day, I kept updating it, and I saw that it got rolled out. So this is something that's rolled out specifically, it looks like, for just US markets. So yesterday, I was trying to confirm with our Amazon contacts if this is going to affect notably any other markets like Canada, UK, any other sort of European or Australian, or any other Amazon market besides the United States. Has not been confirmed yet how this will affect down the road. It looks like this is just going to affect US sellers for now. Now, once again, as this kind of develops and goes over time, we will more than happily go and give that information out to our followers. So just want to make that clear that from our resources within Amazon, they have not confirmed that this will roll out for all marketplaces within Amazon, but this is most notably definitely rolling out within the US marketplace. So wanted to make that note clear. Again, March 1st, if you go, and I can actually share my screen real quick. If you look in your FBA dashboard, it's going to have a big banner at the top in Seller Central. Starting March 1st, 2023, you'll have a single monthly capacity limit for each store type instead of both weekly restock limits and quarterly storage limits. Confusing to say the least to what that means. So luckily there's a learn more button, and it will take you to what we've already broken down for you. And I'll read through and break down in simplest terms of what that means. But again, in Seller Central, you're going to see this really large banner at the top that's trying to prep sellers for this indication. Again, it's going to refer to the following. So again, why we wanted to go live is to educate this. So if you have questions, and before I get into the meat of these issues, again, 2 specific instances I wanted to cover today in this live session. If you have questions, feel free to put in the comment below. If you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, of course, feel free to follow up with us if you can't catch us live. But if you have questions later on, feel free to put in the comments, tag myself, tag Frisbee, to make sure that we can help you understand what this impact will look like for your business. But basically, it refers to FBA capacity limits, and the new feature that we're going to be focusing on today is this capacity manager. So FBA capacity limits, according to Amazon, again, this is all linked in all the description below. You can find them under fees and resources in Seller Central. The capacity limits are, I'm going to go ahead and one more second so you can see my face. Reading from Amazon itself, FBA capacity limits are designed to help manage unexpected surges in demand and supply chain disruptions so that Amazon can run its fulfillment network efficiently and get their products to customers faster. So we all have heard, it's something that we've heard, there'd be lots of space, there'd be no space. It's something that has never been quite defined under Amazon's terms of how much a seller can get access to. And this is their way to determine how you can know ahead of time. And this is a 90-day window that they're giving you an insight into how much inventory you have access to. And below are the following changes. So additionally, these limits give you clarity about future access to FBA capacity. Once again, capacity and fulfillment by Amazon warehouses, so that you can plan on how much inventory to send to them at their within those windows. And again, it takes into effect all the same qualities that we've noticed in the past. It's going to be based on your capacity limits and capacity usage in the capacity monitor, which is again what we'll talk into today. At the bottom of your FBA dashboard is a chart. On the left, it's going to display your current capacity usage and inventory status and your remaining capacity for creating new shipments. The table on the right displays your estimated capacity limits for the next 3 months. And again, if we go back to Seller Central, it's not going to be something that is going to be in there yet, but at the bottom here in the restock limits section, typically in the IPI section, you're going to see your score still determines, but it's going to be talking on these 5 still very unique types of inventory that you're going to be covering. So again, standard size storage, oversized storage, apparel storage, footwear storage, and extra large storage. So those are still very applicable to this. But individually, for breaking down in further how this affects new sellers, but also seasoned sellers moving forward, there's 3 different types of distinctions that I want to make very clear. Number 1, individual selling accounts have a capacity limit of 15 cubic feet, which is not eligible to be increased. So if you're an individual seller, not a professional seller, that is a hard 15 cubic feet of which they're defining space that they're dedicating to your account. Does not cannot go above unless you are a professional account. Number 2 is the new professional selling accounts, which have been active in FBA for less than 39 weeks. And for the not math geniuses, that is 9 months of selling. So if you're within that 9-month sweet spot of opening your account and selling an FBA, your new account within that first 9-day window, this is what it's applying to you. You don't have FBA capacity limits. That's a very important distinction. So if you're a new seller, you have 9 months to basically prove it, what you have for your product in order to start selling it. That will determine and help mainly determine what limits you are going to be receiving there on further. So 9 months, again, I think it's in 9 months, 39 weeks, you do not have FBA capacity limits. And that allows you to establish, again, your sales record without limits that Amazon can determine based upon data, of course. Record limits, and Amazon determine how much capacity to give you in order to grow. So again, it's kind of that prove it to us to see what we got. If it's a great product, then our algorithm will help run during that time. It will help determine what your limits will be here in the future. Now, most of you who are listening, you're going to be falling in this third bucket. It's going to be professional sellers who've been selling more than 9 months or 39 weeks. You're going to be professional selling accounts active for more than 9 months, receive a capacity limits based upon IPI score. Again, that has not changed, and sales performance. Sellers with consistently higher IPI scores receive higher capacity limits adjusted for sales volume and available capacity. So again, the more you're selling through, the more consistent your sales are, the higher your IPI score, the more inventory space Amazon will be awarding you. Capacity limits are announced monthly, and this is also a very important distinction too. announced monthly during the week starting the third Monday of the month. You can review these updates via Capacity Monitor, which is the tool that will be in Seller Central. And you will receive an email notification too of your limits. So Amazon confirms your limit for the upcoming month, reaffirms or adjusts your estimated limit for the following month, and estimates your limit for the month after that. So again, you're looking at a 90-day window, for example, of what your limits are currently, what is adjusted for the following month, and then what's the approximate number that you're looking for that third month or that next 90 days out, I would say. 60 and 90 days out. So if you're more like, if you like more capacity for products that you're confident customers will buy, again, this is kind of a prove it to us. Prove us that we're wrong. I'm going to say, I'm going to pull up the screen here and say Amazon is basically, and again, for all intents and purposes, is both a genius, but also I understand from sellers' point of view, a frustrating ecosystem. It's a prove it to us that you have what it takes in order to make our numbers wrong. So it's an algorithm that's trying to say, if you would like more inventory, more than happy to give it to you, but you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is. And that's the expression I'm taking away from reviewing and analyzing these two sets of announcements that they've been announced over the last 48 hours or so. So again, this is a put your money where your mouth is. If you prove us wrong, we're going to reward you handsomely for it, and kind of take it from there. So that is where the capacity manager comes in. That's the distinction I want to make very clear. This is how it works. So breaking it down, how the capacity manager works. And for people who are trying to follow along and want to understand what the capacity manager, I'll go ahead and quickly put a link here in our social channels. And if you have a question about it, more than happy to go ahead and follow along, obviously, and within the ecosystem, and kind of review these on your own terms. Again, it's a very new notification within Amazon. And if you're on LinkedIn too, I'll be happy to post this after the live session in the ecosystem. But if you just go into your seller central account, it's under FBA same day delivery, under the articles, under capacity manager, and FBA capacity limits. I have another screen up here, which is why I'm rotating and looking away from the camera, so I apologize. So obviously, it's very important to understand and go through what this capacity manager is going to do for you as an Amazon seller. And again, there's been AI forecasting models. There's been lots of forecasting models that help indicate when to order from overseas or from your supplier or manufacturer. But this actually gives you this, according to Amazon, 90-day window of what you will be working with. It's the space you're allowed to occupy within Amazon on a base level. And then from there, you can bid up or even put your money where your mouth is. So this is how it works. You can actually tell Amazon how much additional capacity you want and when. Limit increases can be requested on monthly increments. Again, this is not for 1 week only or for a deal segment. This is on monthly limits that they're going to be basing your bid on, if you will. And when those limit increases can be requested on the monthly limit for any future period in which you have the capacity limit or estimated capacity limit. So again, you can request up to what they distinctly say 20% of your initial capacity limit or 2,000 cubic feet, whichever is greater. So if you're a smaller seller and you'd like to upbid, you're growing a little bit more, you can either request 20% of your initial capacity of what you've been bestowed in FBA warehouses, or 2,000 cubic feet. And again, the distinction I want to make clear too is Amazon's now going off of cubic feet. And going back to math, which is my favorite subject to explain to people, of you're going off of now just units now, no more longer units, but we're going off of cubic feet. So now this starts to make sellers start to change their outlook. And when it comes to, especially myself, when I'm having conversations with sellers on a day-to-day basis, if it's an oversized product, this is going to really, really affect bigger, bulkier items that get put into fulfillment centers, Amazon's fulfillment centers, because they're basing these limits based on cubic feet now instead of units. So no longer unit measurements, but instead of cubic feet. So that's a very I'm going to call it important distinction, but that's biggest takeaway. They're measuring in cubic feet, which is very which is a different departure from before of just units. So whatever you can request, whatever's greater, going back to that moment, you can set the maximum reservation fee that you will be willing to pay for that extra capacity if it's available. The fee can be offset with performance credits earned from sales generated using the additional space. No upfront payment is required. So it's important to set a reservation that reflects your confidence in the ability to sell the inventory and offset the reservation fee with performance credits. I'm going to take a pause right there. I hear a lot of people being confused, and I already hear it through the internet saying, what does that mean? What is performance credits? What are these credits? What am I bidding? What am I promising versus not? But we're getting right there. So stick with me here with some of these new terms. If you're not confident that you can sell through the inventory and offset the fee, it's recommended not to request your capacity increase, as you'll be responsible for the remaining balance that you bid. Your reservation fee minus the performance credits. Amazon will assess fulfillment center capacity regularly and grant requests as capacity is available. So again, even after all of this, it's at the discretion of Amazon and understanding how much availability there is to grant you that inventory level. So going to that, uh, this is all of it just depends, but based upon their request, they will extend to you. It still depends on the availability of the available space. So after all of this, their criteria for granting a request is completely objective and based upon, according to Amazon, is based on the highest reservation fee and continue in this order until all allocated capacity has been granted. So again, they're talking about, hey, if I'm really confident in my area and I'm going to bid really high, they will award those capacities first and then start going down that list subsequently. So the capacity is granted will be available for the entire period specified. This additional capacity, if you win, obviously, you may also be available to you 1 month before the requested, so you can create shipments to send inventory into fulfillment centers. So it's also important to understand that it's not starting right away on that month. It can be extended into the month before you've requested it so that you can send additional units in there before your expected peak time of sales. So that's good news for lots of sellers if you haven't caught that on before. It could be pre-positioned in the network in the period that you've requested. So we've covered that. It's also worth noting that your fee may be lower than what you specify in your request. For all sellers whose requests are granted in the same week, the lowest granted reservation fee will apply, and regardless of the reservation fee you originally submitted. Amazon offers performance credits for sellers who are granted additional capacity and who generate sales. So performance credits are earned at a rate of 15 cents for every, and that's US dollar, 15 US dollar or cents for US dollar for every dollar of sales that you generate using additional capacity during your period requested. This credit is designed to give you the opportunity to offset 100% of the reservation fee if you use the additional capacity productively. And it's saying, hey, we will reward you and give you back this in credits. We will reward you for the space that you sell through if you prove it. And basically, going back to, if you prove us wrong, we will offset what you bid 15 cents for every dollar. So again, 15% of that back to you in order to offset that. So basically rewarding you, but not rewarding you, but they're giving you credit back. So if you are selling through and you are correct, of course, that's more sales, which means more fees for Amazon, which means, hey, we're selling through more units. And even though you had to pay us beforehand for this and you beat our algorithms, we're going to give you credit back. So you're still going back to regular inventory levels. So again, if you don't meet those criteria, or if I say I'm going to bid for an additional 1,000 extra cubic feet and I only get half of that, you have to still pay what you bid for that additional inventory space or capacity, and but you would get credit back for the units that you sold through. So if you only sold 500 cubic feet of that 1,000 that you requested in that month, then you would get that 15% credit back towards what you bid on that additional 1,000 square feet. But Amazon would keep the additional amount in that you're just paying for unused space essentially. So they're upcharging you for the space that inventory that you are putting in, and they're getting more money for the units that are sitting there in their warehouse that you didn't sell through. Hopefully that makes sense for people. So going back to quickly, when you submit your request for more capacity, you specify the maximum reservation fee that you're willing to pay for the reserve of the additional capacity. Your request may be granted at the amount in which you specify or at the lower amount. So again, they're giving you have to provide a range of what you're willing to pay, and they will go to the maximum reservation fee that you're willing to pay. And so it's again PPC bidding all over again, but this time it's for inventory in their FBA fulfillment centers. Amazon also says that they have the lowest reservation fee guarantee. So if you request additional capacity and granted, your reservation fee will always be less than or equal to the maximum reservation fee that is specified in that request. In addition, if it will be the same reservation fee per cubic foot as other sellers whose requests are granted that week. Again, more details and information to specify that. But in terms of when you're going to be charged this, again, money flow is a big important factor that I wanted to make clear for people, is that reservation fees. Let's turn on the light real quick. There, I can see everyone now. It got dark here all of a sudden. Reservation fees that are charged after the end of the specified period. So again, you're not paying the fee for itself upfront. If you're rewarded it, you will still get that opportunity to prove it, get the sales, and then the fees, if there is any additional left over, you would pay after that fact. So for example, if you were granted additional capacity for October 1st, which is the beginning of Q4, which a lot of people I know for a fact will start bidding for through October 31st, reservation fees, if any, would then be charged in early November. So to help forecast, not just for inventory levels, but for monetary reasons and financial reasons, you would be charged those extra fees after your sales have come through, if that makes sense. So that's an important distinction. So all that being said, that's kind of the basis of it. And there's some examples that I would love to go over. I just want to go ahead and check real quick that the comments that are going into that people tuned in. I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching this too. So just wanted to click through them real quick. So good to see you right near. Nice to see you too, my friend. It's been a long time. I missed you. I missed you too. News coming soon. And I'll announce this at a different time, but there's news coming soon. You'll see a lot more of me in the future. Good morning, Daniel. There at Ping Pong and Brock. Hey, Ryan, I sell in the US and internationally. It's nice to hear from you, Brock. I'm primarily having storage issues in my Canada account. Looking forward to this rolling out in other marketplaces. Good, important note too. So again, for everyone who's tuned in late, this is an important note by Brock. It has not been confirmed yet. And again, I'm going to make this very important distinction. It's not been confirmed yet that this is rolling out for Amazon marketplaces in additional countries outside of the United States. Very important to understand that this is something that is either going to be tested and rolled out in different marketplaces as applicable. But right now, according to our insiders at Amazon, I won't say who, according to our teams and resources within Amazon, has not been confirmed that this is impacting Canada sales or UK or any other marketplaces that Amazon operates in. Again, I expect, if you're asking my opinion, this to fully roll out in those areas too, because most definitely, like Brock said, Canada has been an issue for inventory management for our sellers and for lots of other brands. It has been a pain, and I think that's a barrier for a lot of sellers who are trying to overcome and trying to figure out what to forecast for and how to get inventory there. Of course, Frisbee is here to help with that, but for inventory levels, we know lots of sellers who would do more business if they had inventory access in those marketplaces like Canada. So good question, Brock. We will most definitely make that announcement when we can confirm that this is applying to international markets as well. And again, Joshua, are you getting rid of restock limits or just having cubic storage? So restock limits, again, going back to the IPI score. So IPI score is still in effect. And I'll go ahead and I believe I put the capacity manager in there, but if I didn't put the capacity limiter, I'll talk about capacity limits as well. So in the comment section, I'll make sure both get put out in LinkedIn, but also I'm on our other channels that goes automatically within StreamYard. So capacity of StreamYard, I have just sent out the comments and the links to talk about FBA capacity limits and specifically. So restock limits itself, there's still those components like they're adding onto, but it's a definition from Amazon of what to expect moving forward. And again, why this is such a big deal and why I personally wanted to come on and talk about these two new features is because it has been a pain point for the last 2 years now. And again, starting in October, November timeframe, we've had many sellers who have had their inventory limits slashed for no reason. There's nothing to prep for or to forecast for. It's just weekly, my inventory limits are down. IPI score is fantastic. They don't understand their sales are fantastic. They just don't understand why their limits have been slashed and cut, and they can't get any trucking and containers scheduled for their the Canada markets, or they can't get their inventory, even small parcel, into those fulfillment centers because the fluctuation on a week-to-week basis. So it's no longer a week-to-week calculation. This is officially what you have. Now, next month, now based upon your sales and growth, and as you continue to grow, Amazon is promising to, again, organically and keep reevaluating numbers. So as sales continue, IPI scores continue to be really nice. Velocity, it's all there. Numbers should continue to go up as expected. But this is a more definitive answer from Amazon saying that, hey, this is what we're going to plan out. So you have more sanity when it comes to forecasting your inventory availability. But if you want more, and this is the caveat, but if you want more, we're more than happy to do it if you bid more. And again, what's going to be successful, what's not going to be successful, if people are going to outbid, is this going to hurt smaller sellers? Is this going to only benefit larger sellers? The answer is always going to be, it depends, because if you are a smaller seller and you're continuing to grow, hopefully you'll be able to request a responsible amount of inventory. I think ultimately, if I had to guess, this is Amazon's way of saying, hey, we want to not have just people load in long-term storage, have their inventory set in our warehouses. We're all about the ability to say, if a product's in there, it's out in 30 days, hopefully, if not less, 30 to 90-day window. That's ultimately what sellers have been kind of forecasting. And also it's important to, get this official notification from Amazon that says, hey, yes, it is going to be this window of time. And if it's larger than that, we've had talks with, for example, Tactical Logistics Solution. If it's longer than that, we're going to have to, it's just not going to be worth it in profitability wise. So it's going to be a lot of forecasting. Inventory management is going to be so crucial and so important in 2023 and beyond. We've forecasted this in the last 2 years. Amazon does not want to have to sit on this inventory that does not sell through. They want to reward sellers who are constantly selling. They understand their customer, and they can also just get the appropriate amount in there, and it's not sitting there for a long time. So this is ultimately the reason why they're pulling these levers and saying officially this is how we're going to operate moving forward. So great question on the restock limits. There is a reservation fee monthly or quarterly before. It's a monthly reservation fee. So this is a month by month, a 30-day window. February would be 28 or 29, depending on the month, 30 to 31 day window. So again, starting March 1st, this is something that we'll continue to look at and revisit and make sure we understand before that March 1st deadline. And this is coming, obviously, when FBA fees are starting to creep up again. Long-term storage fees have gone up. This is something that if you look at it at a holistic level, everyone's going to have to narrow down on what it looks like in terms of knowing your numbers, how long your inventory is going to sit there. If you can't operate under those guidelines, then you're not going to be profitable, and your numbers and your margins are just going to be completely in the tank. So this is why it's important to understand these numbers going in, when you can operate and when you can bid on these. So again, starting March 1st is when this operation will start to roll out and people get used to it going into end of Q1 to Q2 into the summer, and then ramping up very holistically in Q3, Q4 when sales are traditionally the largest. So great question. Again, that's all I have today. Is kind of an educational resource that I want to help people understand and explain um, what's going on. It's breaking news. It's something, please educate yourself on it further, how it applies to you as a business. Go into your Seller Central account. Like I said before, it will be starting to roll out based upon your products that you're selling, and why this is important to start to forecast and start to eventually um, outperform, what Amazon's expectations are of you. I think this is a good thing of why Amazon's setting expectations. We can adjust and adapt and grow and help sellers grow based upon those parameters. Again, people will say the negative of, hey, this is just more way for Amazon to get another dollar or a couple extra percentage points off my margin. That is very true. But if the alternative is true, that I can't get my inventory into fulfillment centers and they won't let me get more, I think the alternative is worse than you paying to get additional space and inventory as you can, again, as you grow your business into fulfillment center. So ultimately, this is the precious ecosystem that Amazon operates under, their operations and their logistics ecosystem. They want to be profitable and continue to be of utmost I would say service for both end consumers, but also for sellers. It's the major component of why Amazon sellers are successful. On top of, outside of fulfilling yourself or fulfilling through a third party merchant or anything of the sort. So this is something that is now, if you look at it properly, positively, you can start to make those adjustments here as an entrepreneur moving forward. So hopefully that is something of an educational resource for you today. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Ryan at frisbee.com, or you can reach out to our team with any further questions, how this might affect moving forward in different marketplaces. You can reach out at support@frisbee.com. I'm Ryan Kramer. Thanks for tuning into this emergency breaking news segment. FBA capacity limits and the new Amazon capacity manager. We'll catch you guys next time when we go live. Stay tuned for upcoming awesome news coming from Frisbee and myself here in the next coming weeks. Take care, everyone.